Yep, and two Badger ones plus the two Haversick and the Fickle one,
Yeah.
and then we'll use the Trump Argentina one from yesterday as well.
Okay.
Both there's two of them from yesterday, so we'll use the Trump.
What's that?
There's the beef one from Argentina, which you played. We'll probably use that again, and then there's the defends the $40 billion bailout. So we'll use both of those.
All right. 20 seconds.
All right, thank you.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you along here on a Tuesday from the old world headquarters of Civic Media, downtown Madison, at the intersection of State and Fairchild here in Madison. Quick look outside at the Sam Davidson street cam zoomers. A little rain. My mom likes to say, into every life a little rain must fall. And it was nice earlier. Went over and got some coffee at Wonder State, and now showers have taken into downtown Madison. But, you know, that's part of fall. Overcast and showery once in a while.
I would say it's still nice. You know, it's a gentle shower. You wear a coat, you have an umbrella, or you just stand in the doorway and you're fine.
Right. Yeah. Need a little moisture. That'll be fine. So hopefully you're enjoying your day as you go throughout the day today in Wisconsin. Going to be a great show today. Coming up at hour 2. We talked about this last Friday when the news broke via the Capital Times. Great reporter Danielle DeCloss is going to be here talking about her reporting. She is the enterprise and investigative reporter at the Capital Times, and did this story on Department of Public Instruction in Madison and Dr. Jill Underly, who is the state school superintendent. We talked about this last week. I know our colleagues, Jane Matnair and Greg Bach, along with Dan Schaefer, Civic Media's political editor, spent a large chunk of time on their show on Friday talking about this as well. And if you have not read it, it's a difficult story. It's a well-written, well-researched story, but it's difficult, and it has to do with over 200 cases of teacher sexual misconduct and grooming cases in the public schools, and the fact that the Capital Times did a open records request and received this information, and the fact that many of these people who are investigated simply gave up their license in exchange for not having the investigations go further. Now, the state school superintendent refused, Dr. Jill Underly refused to, I should say declined, being part of the story, had her spokesperson talk instead, and the spokesperson said it would be a conflict of interest, quote unquote, for Dr. Underly to be interviewed. And so the article came out, and it's disturbing, certainly. And the DPI's position is that, well, we had over $600,000 in our budget request to the Republican-controlled Joint Finance Committee, the Budget Committee, which was denied. And if we had only had this money to have more people to investigate these things and to process them, they would have seen the light of day. I'm not here to dispute that. But for me, the disturbing part beyond, to me, there's two parts of this. A, the disturbing evidence in these accusations in this story. And then there's which I think is, for these purposes, the the more concerning part in that Dr. Underly refused to sit for this interview. She has not spoken to media that I know of, and now there is a State Assembly committee meeting on Thursday of this week in which she is being asked to testify and to just, let's have a conversation about this. And thus far, we do not know whether she's going to attend that. Her lack of transparency to me is deeply disturbing. And as we talked about on this program before, I think a good analogy in terms of how you handle things is the stewardship fund, the Nelson Knowles Stewardship Fund, the conservation program that also requested more money in the state budget and got denied. And they've launched, we've had them on this show, Nature Conservancy and other people have launched a public campaign, have been working with legislators in a bipartisan manner to say, okay, we didn't get it in the budget. How can we do a standalone bill? What is unclear, and so far Dr. Underly has not come forward about this, is if this was the major problem that obviously it is based on the Capital Times reporting, why didn't she, and look, I've been in the building, as they say, in the Capitol. I worked for the Senate Majority Leader. When you have a piece of legislation or something in the budget that doesn't get addressed or doesn't get funded, the people who are good at these things have a press packet ready to go, and you call a press conference, and you get the cameras there, and you say, look, these are the facts. These are the evidence I have. We have a major problem in this state in processing these very disturbing cases to keep our kids safe. I just went in there and asked for over $500,000 to address this, and the Republicans said no, which is their right. But I'm here to tell you what the problem is, and I'm asking for the public's help. I'm asking for bipartisan help in the legislature to find a standalone bill that the governor can sign that we can put more monies into these positions to keep our kids safe and process these cases. And Dr. Underly did not do that. I cleaned my desk this weekend, by the way. I spent four hours. Zomer's his witness, right?
Yes, your efforts paid off. It is very clean now.
Thank you.
At least compared to before. No, it's
wow.
now it is has a normal amount of stuff on it. Yeah, it was pretty nested in before.
It was nested. But one of the advantages to having a top-of-desk filing system is that I have, and because, I don't know whether it's because of my dyslexia or whatever it is, if I have an article that I'm going to read from, I read better when I have a piece of paper in my hand. So, yes, I print stuff off every day. I don't just read it off my screen. Some stuff I do, but most of the stuff I print off. And one of the stories that I printed off, this is back from February of 2025. Yes, I had an article from February still sitting on my desk as of this weekend. From the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, headline, State Superintendent skips forum while her challengers take questions on vouchers and more. And it reminded me that this is a person, Dr. Underly, who refused to debate in the election where she got reelected this spring. And it was put on in part by WisPolitics, and WisPolitics president, according to the Journal-Sentinel at the time, Jeff Mayers, said he provided 2 dates to the campaign. Brittany Kinzer, who was the conservative, and Jeff Wright, the fellow progressive, quote, responded right away and chose February 6th. Underly said she had a conflict. Mayers said WisPolitics asked for alternative dates, but her campaign did not provide them. Underly's campaign said she was unavailable to attend because of a University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents meeting. The DPI superintendent, by virtue of their position, serves as a regent. Underly missed at least a part of the board's education meeting that began at 10:30 because she held a 10:30 press conference in Madison to discuss Head Start programs that have been unable to access funding under a freeze issued by President Trump. The Head Start programs goes on to talk about Head Start. The WisPolitics Forum took place from noon until 1. overlapping with the board's scheduled lunch break. Underly's campaign offered no clarity as to why Underly missed at least part of the Board of Regents meeting, but could not skip the board's lunch break. Her campaign referred questions about her to the DPI. The DPI said Underly participated in the press conference because it's important to share the local effects of federal government decisions. A spokesperson said the lunch break allowed the board to eat before continuing the meeting. I mean, that's a half a page in this story about the state school superintendent debate forum, simply making excuses and explaining why Underly not only didn't participate in the board meeting or the forum, but also skipped out on part of her duties to the Board of Regents meeting because she scheduled her own press conference, which she could have had any time. I bring that up now because I think it's important to establish the pattern here. And by the way, when we first started this show, going on 3 years ago, be 3 years next month, Jill Underly came on this program. I don't know, 2 or 3 times. I thought it went well. And then all of a sudden, she just stopped coming on. And to my knowledge, maybe at one, we asked her to come on our show last year during the state school superintendent race, and nothing, crickets. She skips the debate to get reelected to her own position. And now, not talking to reporters, and not only that, late Friday, she came out with a statement claiming that the story about how her department conducts investigations is inaccurate and demanded a public correction on an article claiming the Department of Public Instruction had hidden its investigation of 200 cases of sexual misconduct and grooming from school staff. Quote, "The reporting is not only incomplete and misleading, it is dangerously irresponsible," unquote. It distorts the nature of the DPI's work in this area, omits crucial legal and procedural facts, and undermines public trust in the same systems designed to protect Wisconsin students, unquote. But yet she doesn't say what that is. By the way, Capital Times editor Mark Taryn told Center Squares from Center Square late Friday afternoon, quote, "We stand by our reporting and expect to have a more complete response by Monday." So Jill Underly's tactic here is to pull a Donald Trump, to attack the reporter and the press. I don't know what's up with this person. I think it's disqualifying, quite frankly. We're going to have Danielle DeCloss from the Cap Times on this show in hour number 2. Oh, and by the way, more news regarding the Department of Public Instruction, this time from the Wisconsin Public Radio. By the way, Capital Times, Wisconsin Public Radio, not exactly right-wing news organizations, right? Headline, audit finds nearly a quarter of Wisconsin schools missed financial deadlines. The Legislative Audit Bureau made 22 recommendations to DPI to improve procedures. The Legislative Audit Bureau is a nonpartisan part of the government, run for years by Jan Mueller. Has a stellar reputation. They found about 20% of independent charter schools, 10% of schools in the parental choice program also missed the statutory deadline for submitting financial paperwork. The financial reports from schools and school districts are necessary for DPI to calculate state aid payments to ensure educational entities are financially viable and certify all districts and schools are complying with legal requirements. The Legislative Audit Bureau found something else out. I'm going to tell you what it is on the other side. And by the way, where is the concern, the criticism, the press release from Democrats in the state of Wisconsin? There is none. Back after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Strong Coffee, WMDX Madison. Hello, this is Dr. Chris Kammer, the no-drill, no-shot dentist from Victorious Dental in Madison. I heal teeth with medicine, recommended and prioritized by the American Dental Association. I stop cavities by simply brushing antibiotic on your teeth.
All right, I found
so
something.
No shots, no drills.
All right.
And Dingy, here's your takeout order.
Okay.
Victorious Dental will help you
Right,
win
that's
the
not
battle
much,
for
but-
your
Yeah,
health
right.
peacefully.
We'll think about
and
it. If we use it,
comfortably.
we'll do it to
Victorious
hour
Dental.
two.
Find us at
I'll keep-
It has to do with this.
You want to feel important.
These goofy Republicans they're trying to make it now so you can carry concealed carry without a permit. I mean, it's just from the dingy batwing,
Yeah.
Felt that way too.
ding batwing of the GOP. So that's
This
why
video is a 3-hour and 40-minute
Yeah, don't do that.
playlist.
Don't
I'm
do
just
that.
letting it play and scanning
All
the
right.
captions
Oh,
just to
okay.
see if it says dingy or dingbat.
Well, you don't have to work that hard, but thank you. I appreciate
Our
it.
communities are in need. We get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lake
Rick
shores
in
of Ohio,
Waukesha has some
Michigan,
stuff about the
Wisconsin,
Argentinian beef, so
Minnesota.
you
Okay,
might,
cool.
you might
Yeah.
call in later when you talk about that.
Probably won't get till that till after the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, and then Gene and Eau Claire is on the Underly stuff.
Okay, Jill. Jill. I'm sorry, Gene. I just gotta get this one factoid out, then we'll go to you.
Visit nationalguard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Chad Spate for Chad's Design Build. We're proud to employ some of the best carpenters and remodeling professionals in our industry. Are you honest and hardworking? Do you love to improve people's lives by improving their homes? Chad's Design Build offers excellent compensation and benefits focused on outstanding customer service, professional design, construction management, and craftsmanship, all in a nurturing, positive workplace. Whether you're thinking about remodeling your home or considering joining our team, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check that off.
About 20 seconds.
Yes, you do. See how we've got you at You Got.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 22 now, past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Glad to have you along. Aaron Zommers on the board as we welcome you back in here. Coming up a little bit later, going to be talking to Danielle DeCloss about an hour from now, a little bit more. The Enterprise investigative reporter at the Capital Times on this story she broke last week about DPI and Superintendent Jill Underly on the over 200 teachers' sexual misconduct issues and the lack of reporting thereof. And she'll be with us, and we're going to ask her some of these things, give her the opportunity, I should say, because Underly put out a rebuttal on Friday, and so we'll ask Danielle about that. But also yesterday, Wisconsin Public Radio out stating that an independent audit of the Department of Instruction, public instruction, found about a quarter of Wisconsin school district missed the deadline to file financial statements for the 2022-23 school year. Well, you say, okay, fine. I mean, not fine, but I mean, that's the district's fault. They didn't do their job. Right, correct. Don't disagree. But according to Wisconsin Public Radio, the auditors at the Legislative Audit Bureau, a nonpartisan entity, also found DPI did not begin to review reports for more than 2 months after the December 15th deadline to submit, and failed to track how the reviewing team spent its time. Auditors issued at least one financial reporting deficiency or weakness in control over financial reporting for 370 of the 421 school districts. DPI policies require schools submit plans describing actions they will take to address each deficiency. Again, whether it's the story from the Capital Times we're going to talk with the reporter about in hour 2, or whether it's this story from Wisconsin Public Radio, The deeply concerning part in terms of policy, politics, and institutions is who's running the Department of Public Instruction in Wisconsin right now. I mean, it's either being mismanaged or unmanaged. And again, this is reporting from the Capital Times and Wisconsin Public Radio. Dr. Underly has a responsibility to the taxpayers of this state and to the voters of this state and the children of this state to have her posterior in a seat in a committee hearing this Thursday in the state capitol. And if she's unwilling to do that and unwilling to take questions in public, then in my opinion, she ought to tender her resignation and allow Governor Evers to appoint a replacement. And I think the runner-up of the contest, Jeff Wright, would be a great candidate. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to WCFW in Eau Claire. Gene in Eau Claire. Thanks for listening, Gene. What say you?
Hello, sir, and I really appreciate your caring and that you care about our state, that you care about kids, and you're passionate, and I love you for it. But I have to say, I read the articles too, and that it was very confusing to me because there were over 200, they said teachers, but then later they said staff, aides, substitutes, and different things that were added into this. So I'm very confused by this report. In addition to that, I think that, now it's been a while since I've been in the school system, but I think that stuff has to be reported to the police. But, when there's accusations of abuse. So I think that there needs to be more understanding of, how was this handled, but they also have to be very careful for students' names, for situations, and for the teachers. So this is involved when you have sexual abuse. Let's look at the Epstein files.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm 100%. I'm 100% on board, but don't agree or disagree that Democrats who are calling for the release of the Epstein files, and I'm not a Democrat, but I'm also calling for the release of Epstein. If anybody's going to call for the release of the Epstein files, shouldn't we also call for transparency in our own Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction to making? And we're not talking about victims' names, Gene. This is a matter of people who said. And this isn't going into this of the criminal realm yet, but in exchange for having internal investigations dropped, they surrendered their licenses. And there's no way, in my understanding, we'll ask the reporter, there's no way for other districts or other jobs that might involve working with kids to know why they surrendered their license. We're not talking about releasing names. We're talking about transparency so we know that people that, what are the instances, if you read the story, and I'm not going to get too graphic, but there was an adult male teacher who allegedly went on a trip with high school girls and was rubbing suntan lotion on the tops of their breasts when they had. Who does that? Who in their right mind does? So doesn't the public have to know if this guy surrendered his teaching license? Shouldn't there at least be the public right to know? Hey, maybe don't hire this guy because he's got a problem allegedly.
And then too, can I add something here? Is that they should be having chaperones. They shouldn't be sending girls with a teacher like that. They should be having chaperones.
Sure,
this whole thing is.
But I'm up against the clock. But don't you think that Jill Underly has a responsibility to answer questions publicly about this?
Well, I hope she does, because this really needs to be open. But I think we got to get the facts here.
Agreed.
On what's going on. And thank you very much for covering it, because that was very interesting to me. And why does that school district let those girls go with
Appreciate it. Thank you, Gene. Really appreciate it. Come on back. We're going to change gears a bit. We'll revisit this topic in hour number 2. Talk about Donald Trump, why he's crying for Argentina on the other side.
92.7 WMDX, because you can't solve everything with yoga.
You're listening to 92.7 WMDX, Madison's home for the Maggie Dawn Show, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m.
A lot of conversation about the aging population involved in Wisconsin agriculture. So as you age and your body gets frail, how can you keep getting chores done? I'm Pam Yankee with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Tuesday. We're going to find out about one tool that does help farmers get the job done, even when their body starts failing them. That story next.
At Channel, we always show up for our farmers. Is that tar spot or rust?
Incoming!
Definitely rust.
Rick, how did you? Dropping in to check on your crop, Bill. Let's call your agronomist before that rust can hurt your yield.
That sounds great, but when did you learn to skydive?
Self-taught, Bill. Kind of a prodigy.
From personalized insights to year-round support, Channel Seed Pros always show up. Visit channel.com to learn more. Channel, all in, all season. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Obviously, not every surface in Wisconsin agriculture is flat and easy to maneuver. Monica Spaney knows all about it. She's president and co-founder of Accessibility Wisconsin, and her goal, trying to create wheelchairs that let farmers continue to do the things they love on the challenging terrain they do it with.
So the chairs can be used at family farms for a variety of things. Do their regular chores. They could broadcast seed. They could help pick weeds. The thing is because they can go over, corn stalks and rocks, it helps them to still be able to participate with their family on the farm activities. They could even go into the hen house.
So we'll probably do the Trump defends Argentina.
Monica Spaney,
bail out
president
$40
and
billion
co-founder
first,
of
then we'll do the beef
Accessibility
one again, and then we'll
Wisconsin.
do
The
the
wheelchairs they've been able to create
Nebraska
not
Farm
only
Bureau
help
guy.
farmers continue to do the jobs
Okay.
they love, it also increases their independence, decreases depression, and generally lifts a big cloud from the entire family.
Okay, it's time for our fan field goal kick of the game. Hey, he's wearing a Pioneer brand Power Core Enlist Corn t-shirt. Of course, Pioneer brand Power Core Enlist Corn beats the competition's yields by 7.7 bushels an acre. All right, here's the kick. It's good! Not bad for a guy in work boots.
Plant the 100th season of Pioneer. Visit pioneer.com/powerup.
Commodity groups and farm organizations reacting to President Trump's comments yesterday that he'd like to reduce beef prices to consumers by increasing beef imports from Argentina.
I assume
Whitney Duvall,
Gene is
president
gone.
of the
Is it still
American
up on
Farm
the
Bureau
screen?
Federation, said they're urging the administration to
Yep, thank
carefully
you.
consider the damage importing more beef and
Zommers
cattle from
hit
other
the zap
countries
button.
and the impact it could have on cattle farmers here as they try to rebuild America's herds. That's Food News. I'm Pam Yankee.
Madison, Wisconsin. Students, government, lakes, and 92.7 WMDX.
I'm meteorologist Rodney Price. A windy Tuesday afternoon. Showers will be likely as well with highs in the upper 40s. West winds gusting to 30. For tonight, we'll stay windy. Showers still likely. Lows near 40. On Wednesday, mostly cloudy, still windy and near 50. It's 47 at our studios.
Nobody had to tell your grandparents not to drive while using their typewriters. Why should it be any different for us kids and our cell phones? Distracted driving was the cause of more than 3,000 deaths in 2022. Come on, we're smarter than this. Let's put down the phones and focus on the roads. Drive safe, everybody.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The John and Gordy Show.
The FCC Gestapo's coming out to take us away.
All right. Coming in hot, huh?
I just don't want to go off on the deep end here. I know I'm going to do it. I know it's going to happen. I'm just
30 seconds.
I bottled everything.
And come in with "Don't Cry for Me."
Sure.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance.
Welcome back. Keep it playing. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio. I feel like, unfortunately, the windows don't open up. Wouldn't it be great? Because I could be outside on the balcony and it's blaring this song.
And sing in the rain.
Yeah, just like in the Madonna, the great Madonna there. Lady Gaga could nail this, by the way, if you want to do if you want to do a remake. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Zommers on the tunes there, spinning a little Madonna, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. It's 35 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock. Also, just to plug, to tease ahead, as they say, a political story blowing up today as well on a Trump nominee, which is even a bridge too far for Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson. Even Rojo said, nope, probably can't support that. We'll tell you what that's all about in a minute. But first, and I hope our friends in the ag industry, we just got done at the Midwest Farm Report with Pam Yonke, Ben Jarbo, and their great staff, as we do every day at the bottom of the hour. I hope my friends in the ag industry, particularly the beef industry, nobody loves beef more than me. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Wisconsin Beef Council. And right now, beef prices are at historically high costs, high prices, which for a consumer, a little difficult. But for beef farmers, this is like they struggle and they try to get by, but you kind of live for markets like this once in a while where you kind of make up some of those monies that you lost. Great for Wisconsin beef farmers right now. But I still owe my friends Kurt and Florsey for my portion of the steer we bought this year. I better get that taken care of quickly.
You got to make good on that.
I got to make good. I'm not going to get any more beef. We went together. We bought one of the great the 4-H auctions down at Greene County. We bought a quarter steer together. And Hosley Meats in New Glarus processed it. You got Richland Locker and Richland Center. You got Prem Meats and Spring Green. I mean, you got all kinds of great independent lockers, and that's where I recommend that you buy your beef if you can.
Absolutely. Todd needs to go see a man about a steer. That's what's happening.
That's exactly right. But here now, I hope you, if you're a beef farmer, if you're a supporter of local beef, listen up. Donald Trump was flying back on his Air Force One from Mar-a-Lago playing golf this weekend. And the reporters asked him about, it was 20 when we had Pam Yonke on the program a week or two ago. It was 20. Now Donald Trump wants to give Argentinian farmers a $40 billion bailout to help Argentina. He was asked about it on Air Force One.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can, but don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
He is very concerned about Argentinian farmers. You understand? I think there's a lot of farmers in Wisconsin say, I wish you felt that way about us. Just get rid of the tariffs and we'll be fine. We played this yesterday, but I want to play it again. It's not that long. Trump was then asked on the same trip over the weekend on Air Force One on Sunday about the beef, about what's going on, and here's his response.
With soybeans and on Argentina, you're looking to do that deal with Argentina, the bail swap. So,
expecting beef?
Are we expecting a beef deal?
I assume you're talking about beef. Yeah, to get beef prices down. The only price we have that's high is beef, and we'll get that down. And one of the things we're thinking about doing is beef from Argentina.
But my question.
So he thought it was about soybeans at first, and then it changed up. So he wants to help out. In order to get beef prices down for the consumers in Wisconsin, he wants to bring in more Argentinian beef to flood the market with foreign food products to bring the prices down so that Wisconsin beef farmers get less.
Isn't that what the hat says? Make Argentina great again?
not exactly, but yeah. The A stands for America, but you're on the right track there, Summers. And by the way, the soybean deal, if you just get rid of the tariffs, then U.S. farmers could sell their soybeans to China. China's already done a back-end deal with South American farmers, some of them in Argentina, by the way. So Argentina's looking pretty good if you're a farmer in Argentina. If you're a farmer in Wisconsin, not so much. So here now, yesterday, posted on social media, is the president of the Nebraska Farm Bureau. Again, Farm Bureau, not exactly your left-wing organization. Farm Bureau, pretty conservative. I mean, there's certainly Democrats involved in Farm Bureau, but this is the president of the Nebraska Farm Bureau in response to Trump saying he wants to bail out farmers in Argentina and also flood the U.S. markets with Argentinian beef.
Hello, ag friends. Hopefully your fall is going well. You know, some days you feel like you just can't catch a break in agriculture, but the cattle sector is one of the real bright spots here in the industry, and certainly in Nebraska, where we have a lot of mama cows. But unfortunately, we have an administration that thinks that they need to lower the price of beef. President Trump on Friday actually made a statement that said we should lower the price of beef, and ultimately that's lowering the price of cattle. That's not something we need to do. I just want our members to know that Nebraska Farm Bureau is adamantly opposed to anything that would artificially lower the price of beef. We have worked hard to get our cattle market where it is. It's a supply and demand issue right now. But quite frankly, we need this bright spot here in Nebraska. So I have communicated with all of our federal delegation and let them know that we are opposed to any move that would artificially lower the price of beef cattle. They have worked that up to the leadership already today. And so stay tuned as we kind of follow this story. Hopefully we can get this tamped down. But just want to make sure that you know that I'm doing everything that I can as your president of Nebraska Farm Bureau to ensure that our beef sector here in Nebraska and the country continues to thrive. Until next time.
So there you go. There's the head of the Nebraska Farm Bureau saying politely, yeah, President Trump, you're screwing us over here. You want to flood the market here with foreign beef, which is only going to hurt our beef farmers in Nebraska, and do the same thing for beef farmers here in Wisconsin. And just like we were talking about with the Jill Underly DPI story, which we're going to come back to here next hour, and you don't hear Democrats speaking out about this, either elected Democrats or Devin Remiker, the new chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. It might be nice to say we're very concerned about this, and we urge Dr. Underly to sit before a committee hearing on Thursday to answer questions. We have full confidence in her. But no, nothing, just crickets. By the same token, the Wisconsin Farm Bureau Federation, it is I'll say a right-leaning organization, not hard right, but not like MAGA right, but there's more people in Farm Bureau that have more Republican-leaning tendencies than Democratic. Again, not to say there aren't some Democrats who are members of Farm Bureau or some legislators who have been supportive of Farm Bureau, but based on my experience over the years, it tends to be more right-leaning. I'm looking at their website right now, Wisconsin Farm Bureau. Where is the press release from the Wisconsin Farm Bureau in basically what we just heard from the Nebraska Farm Bureau? Nothing. Crickets. Where's Republican legislators in this state like Howard Markline and Tony Kurtz in southwest Wisconsin? Andre Jacques in Door County. Where's the outrage from Republican Wisconsin legislators and press releases calling for Donald Trump not to flood the Wisconsin market with foreign beef? Where are the press releases from Farm Bureau and Republican legislators in this state, from Brian Arthur Schimming at the Wisconsin Republican Party, calling on Trump to get rid of these tariffs that are hurting Wisconsin farmers? Nothing. Crickets. 855-752-4842 if you want to weigh in. 855-752-4842. Let's go to Charles in Milwaukee, listening on WAUK, Walkie Shaw, Milwaukee. Charles, thanks for listening. What's say?
Hey, good afternoon, Todd. So I swear, I think sometimes he just talks to hear himself talk, because he mentioned that, well, we're giving them the money because they're dying. They're so basically saying that they're starving. Well, I know in third world countries, in places in Africa, and that they're starving too. But if I'm correct, didn't they take away money?
Right, USAID money, yeah.
USA, right. And Todd, I remember when I first heard this story about the $20 billion to Argentina, and I read up on it. I thought when I read up on it, it was basically this guy was doing horrible as the president, and so they were going to give him this money to try to help bail him out so he looks good in the upcoming election.
Yeah, I mean, you would think. I mean, it just makes no sense, right, Charles? I mean, they're fighting against U.S. interests on this. I mean, the Trump administration. They're clearly not putting Wisconsin farmers, ag producers, or even consumers at the forefront.
But, Todd, he only cares about himself. At some point, his supporters, they will either realize it or they will sink in the boat with him. He only cares about himself, and like they always say, follow the money.
Yeah. No, I think
something here will benefit him financially.
Right. Well, it's always about him. But look what he's doing in the White House right now, tearing down the East Wing just to build his own ballroom, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
I mean,
my wife told me that. I'm like, what in the world? She said, I don't know if this is real or not. And yeah, could you imagine, Todd, what conservatives would be saying if Barack Obama would have did that?
Oh my
gosh.
If
he would have torn out part of the White House for a ballroom, they would have swerving down that he was a terrorist, and they got to go in and get him. I don't understand the silence.
Yeah,
it is so much silence.
I don't get it either. People either don't want to go against their own party. They don't want to. Everybody's tribal, right? It's like, well, if they're on our side, we can't criticize it. Democrats don't want to criticize Jill Underly. Republicans don't want to criticize Donald Trump. If they belong to our tribe, got to keep our mouths shut.
No,
and that's part of what's wrong with politics today.
Yeah, people are being hurt by these.
Yeah.
By people not saying anything.
Appreciate the call, Charles. Have a great day down there in beautiful Milwaukee. Come back with more calls on the other side, 855-752-4842. Know how in the White House you have the Dolly Madison room? That's right. Apparently now, a lot of people are saying the new Trump room, ballroom, will be called the Stormy Daniels Ballroom.
Ballroom?
Come on back.
Reach, engage, grow with Civic Media. Log on civicmedia.us/advertise.
Green and Gold football is back at the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Catch the games on 14 large screen TVs. Join meat and jersey raffles at halftime during regular season games and enjoy half-price wings and beer bucket specials. And the Lazy Oaf is a great place for lunch with daily specials, soups made from scratch, and fast, friendly service. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road. Find specials, menus, and more at lazyoaflounge.com.
Did the average S&P 500 CEOs earn in less than 2 days what their typical worker earned in all of 2023? Yes. In 2023, the average S&P 500 CEO earned about $17 million, or about $46,849 per day, compared to under $64,000 per year for the average worker. Median figures were similar. CEOs made $16.3 million, while median workers earned about $81,000, equivalent to less than 2 days of CEO pay. High CEO compensation remains a stark contrast to the modest worker earnings across major U.S. companies. I'm Trisha Young for Wisconsin Watch. Fact Briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Read more at wisconsinwatch.org.
Where else can you grab a bratwurst at the farmer's market? Did you want a little mustard on yours? Debate politics over coffee. And tailgate at Camp Randall all before noon? Madison, a city that does things differently. As wonderfully unpredictable as a city we call home, Madison's real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Why are interscholastic sports called the last classroom of the day? Because they teach students important life lessons like teamwork, accountability, and perseverance. School sports are so much more than a game. They're about developing the whole person. That's why they're an essential part of every student's education.
Encourage your student to participate in the last classroom of the day. Interscholastic sports in Wisconsin. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
My name's John Driscoll, proud member of the Patriotic Millionaires. When I was CEO at CareCentrix, I doubled entry-level wages. The impact? Productivity went up, turnover
30
went
seconds.
down.
Gracias.
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us here on a Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Zomer is on the board, spinning the tunes. Talk a little bit about Donald Trump wanting to bail out Argentinian farmers because they're dying. They're dying, Trump says. What about Wisconsin farmers? Many who will be forced out of business this year, either because of tariffs, because the inability to find workers, because they're leaving. What about Wisconsin farmers? 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Rick, listening in Waukesha via AUK. Rick, I'm up against the clock. If you can make it quick, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is really interesting about this Argentina. Texas and the oil industry are pretty close with the beef. Where's the beef?
Right, where's the beef?
Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Rick. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Couple minutes here before the top of the hour. I want to get to this political story as well. Zomers, is this on the topic? All right, let's go quickly to beautiful Merrill, Wisconsin, to Cornell, listening on WXCO out of beautiful Wausau. We were just there last week. Cornell's in Merrill. Cornell, welcome to the program. What say you?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the Argentina farmers, but I'm quite upset that, Trump, he shouted at Zelensky and he's not giving him any help. But I just want to mention on the farmers, Kaylin Robertson made a documentary. He's a 27-year-old independent reporter in Ukraine on the front lines. And he had this documentary. It's on YouTube called The Farmers of Kherson. And they're just killing the farmers. They want to plant. They want to grow. And Trump never condemned this. It's really a horrible situation out there. And he made this documentary, and we really have to help Ukraine, the farmers and all of Ukraine, because we
Agreed.
signed the Budapest Memorandum to protect Ukraine. And I was out there at the rally, the No Kings rally. It was a great turnout. We had even Captain America on a skateboard going down the road.
Nice.
You know,
No,
6'1", he was about 6'1", and I walked through the crowd with my posters, and also I'm really upset with Trump because he should be helping Ukraine. There's been 700 children killed, 13,000 civilians killed in apartments, and it's really quite upsetting that I hope we call in for these Tomahawk missiles. He's refused the Tomahawk missiles too.
Right.
President Zelensky, but
appreciate the call, Cornell. I'm up against the clock, but I appreciate your call up there, beautiful Merrill. Yeah, we haven't had time to get too deep into Ukraine, but you're absolutely right. I agree that Zelensky was in Washington last week, and Trump basically crapped on him and said you should settle with Putin now and let Putin keep all the land that he has now. And it's disturbing to say the least. We'll see what happens this next summit over in Europe. Sommers?
Meanwhile, Argentinians are dying. You have no idea how bad it is,
Right.
Trump says.
That's what Trump says. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I get this quickly. We finally found someone Ron Johnson can no longer vote for a nominee. This, according to Politico, who broke the story. Paul Ingrassa, President Donald Trump's embattled nominee to lead the office of the special counsel, told a group of fellow Republicans in a text chain the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday should, quote, be tossed into the seventh circle of hell, unquote, and said that he has, quote unquote, a Nazi streak. According to a text chain viewed by Politico. Ingrassa, who has a Senate confirmation scheduled for a hearing scheduled for Thursday, made the remarks in a chain with a half dozen Republican operatives and influencers, according to the chat. Quote, MLK Jr. was the 1960s George Floyd, and his quote-unquote holiday should be ended and tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs, unquote, Ingrassa wrote in January of 2024. Goes on to talk about Moore used an Italian slur for black people, which I will not repeat here on the air, but says that these holidays honoring anybody other than whites, every single one needs to be eviscerated, unquote. Politico interviewed two people in the chat, granted them immunity after they expressed concern about personal and professional repercussions. One retained the messages and showed the text chain in its entirety to Politico, which independently verified the number listed on the chain belongs to Ingrassa. The person said he came to forward it because he wants, quote, the government to be staffed with experienced people who are taken seriously, unquote. The second person has since deleted the chain and didn't recall specifics about it, but did confirm the discussions took place. Paul and Ron Johnson yesterday came out and said, nope, can't vote for that. So congrats. Congrats to U.S. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. We finally found a red line. Something that apparently Ron Johnson will not. Apparently, when it's blatant in a text confirmed by Politico, Ron Johnson said that's a bridge too far. So far, as of last check, 3 hours ago or so, Paul Ingrassa is still scheduled to be voted on. So, as they say, there's that. It's a fire hose of information. You understand, Sommers?
It really is.
It just, again, we could do a half an hour on that, right?
We could. There's a lot to talk about
There's a lot to talk about. All right, coming up in hour 2, a Wisconsin fun fact for you. Also, what's worse, trying not to sneeze or trying not to yawn. And at the bottom of the next hour, we will retake another look at this story on Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction Superintendent Jill Underly. The story by Danielle DeCloss, Enterprise and investigative reporter at the Cap Times, will be here with us. The reporter will, and we'll talk about this more. Don't go anywhere. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday, October 21st, across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic
Tony
Media
says
station.
that and affordable health care are Ron Johnson's two red wines.
Yes.
Maybe in different directions, but yeah.
The government shutdown now in day 21. The Senate will take up another tomorrow on a measure to end it, but the stalemate continues over Democrats calling for negotiations to extend health benefits. The impacts of the shutdown being felt from critical food programs like SNAP to flight delays as air traffic controllers deal with shortages and now sick calls. ABC's Perry Russum has more.
Delays are happening in Dallas, Atlanta, and Newark. You have these workers who are working their jobs, very stressful jobs, knowing they are not getting paid. So now some of them are calling out, trying to find other work elsewhere to put food on the table, keep the roof over their heads. Many of them have mortgages, so they're trying to find other ways of income.
President Trump blasting Democrats, he says, for the shutdown at a luncheon for Republicans today, touting the new ballroom planned at the White House. Demolition began yesterday. Top Trump officials in Israel, including Vice President J.D. Vance, working to shore up a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas after skirmishes. This is ABC News.
Catch Farm Report updates throughout the day from the Midwest Farm Report, right here on 92.7 WMDX.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. It looks like our next election for Wisconsin Attorney General may
Suggested
be a rematch.
AI title. Where's the beef, Dr. Underly?
Running to keep his seat after speculation he might throw
That's
his hat
funny.
in the ring to become governor. Now, Eric Toney has joined the race. In
Where's the
2016,
beef?
He was the GOP nominee for Attorney General. Toney has been the district attorney for Fond du Lac County since 2012. He was also the former president of the Wisconsin District Attorneys Association. Toney says his top priorities include addressing the fentanyl crisis, changing crime lab practices, and targeting violent crime in Milwaukee. When Call and Toney ran against one another in 2022, it was a close race. Call won with a 1.3% margin. Meanwhile, the Attorney General is appealing a judge's ruling that would have required Wisconsin election officials verify more than 3 million people on our voter rolls are U.S. citizens. Stuart J. Waddles reports.
A Waukesha County court battle over voter registration is moving up the legal ladder. Attorney General Josh Call is appealing Waukesha County Judge Michael Maxwell's order that would force election officials to confirm citizenship before registering new voters. Call says the decision goes too far and violates state law. The judge's order is temporarily paused, though his other directives for cleaning up the voter rolls remain in effect. The issue could decide how the state handles new voter sign-ups heading into the next election.
And you may want to look up tonight and tomorrow. The Orionid meteor showers will be visible in the sky. Earth is passing through a trail of debris left by Halley's Comet. You'll be able to spot shooting stars near Betelgeuse and the constellation Orion. The meteor showers are peaking tonight and the next couple nights, but they'll actually continue through November 7th. Tonight we'll have some clouds, so our visibility is iffy, but tomorrow the weather should cooperate. We'll have a clear sky to see the show. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
The future for Luke Fickell. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports, college football. The Wisconsin Badgers play the number 6th-ranked Oregon Ducks Saturday night in Eugene. The Badgers are 2-5, losing 5 games in a row. Luke Fickell was asked if he knows yet if he'll be back next year at Wisconsin.
No, I don't think any of us have a crystal ball. I've never asked the question. It's not something that I can dwell upon. It's not something that I can't tell you that it's not something that you don't think about.
Chris McIntosh, the Badgers athletic director, releasing a statement saying Wisconsin remains supporting Fickell in his role as the head football coach. NFL, the Packers play the Steelers in Pittsburgh Sunday night. Linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, what he was most proud of in their win over Arizona.
You know, that's what we've been talking about since the start of the season, you know, just finishing throughout the entire week. That's what we emphasized, and, you know, we got the op to finish, and we did it.
That's linebacker Isaiah McDuffie with Sports on Mike Clemens.
Farm news that impacts you and your community from the Midwest Farm Report throughout your day on 92.7 WMDX.
I'm meteorologist Rodney Price. A windy Tuesday afternoon. Showers will be likely as well with highs in the upper 40s. West winds gusting to 30. For tonight, we'll stay windy. Showers still likely. Lows near 40. On Wednesday, mostly cloudy, still windy and near 50. Currently 46 degrees.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
The John and Gordy Show.
Give us a jingle. What do you got for us, Dick? What do you got for us, Charles? We have CG on the line. Mark, what do you got for us? We have Matt on the phone. Joe, what do you got for us?
Hi, guys. Great show. As always, your callers are a spice that makes your stew the most wonderful thing ever.
All right, Joe. Thank you. Joe, thank you for that comment. We have this round table, and we've got all these great listeners who call us on a regular
30
basis.
seconds.
And they throw their 2 cents.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Welcome into the big show, hour number 2 on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Glad to have you along at the world headquarters here, from the world headquarters of Civic Media at the intersection of State and Fairchild. Aaron Zommers, great to have you here.
Good to be here.
It's always going to be a quick look again at the Sam Davidson street cam. The rain has stopped, apparently. Still overcast. It's almost it's Halloween-y out. I think that's a
little bit.
A little Halloween-y today. A little windy, blowing in witches from the east.
Just eerie out there.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a nice day. Nice day. Glad to have you along. At the bottom of this hour, Danielle DeCloss, Enterprise and investigative reporter at the Cap Times, is going to be with us talking about her great reporting story from last week on Department of Public Instruction and giving her an opportunity to talk about the story, the reporting, but also Dr. Underley came out on Friday basically attacking the reporter of the Cap Times, saying they did shoddy work. So we'll see what Danielle has to say about that. And again, I think there are two concerning things here. A, the subject of the story, these allegations of grooming and sexual misconduct amongst people in public education, not just educators, but other folks, and the fact that they can give up their license in exchange for not having the investigation continue. That's certainly tragic, and the alleged victims tragic, but equally as disturbing to me is the apparent lack of transparency in the Department of Public Instruction and Dr. Underley. And now we have this story from the Wisconsin Public Radio today that they're also missing deadlines, DPI is, in reviewing financial things for school districts across the state. So I hope that Dr. Underley appears before the Assembly Committee on Thursday in person herself and doesn't send her flacks. By the way, a flack, I used to be one, so I know. It's a spokesperson for a politician. She better not send her flacks to testify. She better be there in person because Wisconsin deserves the right to know. So Danielle DeCloss from Cap Times will be here at the bottom of the hour talking about that. We have a what's worse for you, a couple of serious news headlines. But right now, at 9 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock, time once again for Wisconsin Fun Fact.
Oh, Wisconsin, land of beauty, with your hillsides and your plains.
That's right. It's time once again for today's Wisconsin Fun Fact. On this day, October 21st, 1897, the Yerkes Observatory was dedicated on the shores of Lake Geneva, situated on a 77-acre park. The world-renowned refracting telescope remains operational and offers the opportunity to look at something else other than fibs all summer long. And that's how we play Wisconsin Fun Fact. I'm really liking this segment.
That is a fun fact.
It's a fun fact. So, fun fact. Quickly, a fun fact. Today happens to be my birthday today.
Happy birthday, Todd.
Thank you. I wasn't fishing for that, but yes. I only mention it because it's a great excuse to read because normally I don't do a lot for my birthday, but tonight, some of my longest friends, Rob Wheat and Jeff Daniels and I, are going. That's why I've got my Packer gear on today. We are going to the great new film, No Packers, No Life. All right? And we're going to the 9 o'clock show because that's what they can get. I said, can we still stay awake at 9 o'clock? So I may have to have some coffee before we go to the show tonight. But if you have not seen it, please get out and see this film. You can find more information at nopackersnolife.com or at marcustheaters.com. And I just texted our friend Sean Hannish, one of the co-producers of this film. And he says they are continuing the following theaters for a second weekend in Bay Park, Hollywood, La Crosse, North Shore, Point Cinema, Ridge, and Valley Grande. So Bay Park is in Green Bay, Point Cinema here in Madison, Hollywood in Valley Grande in Appleton, Ridge in New Berlin, North Shore in Mequon, and La Crosse.
Not only are they continuing them, I hear there's actually some exciting news about this weekend's showings.
This weekend's showing?
Yeah. Oh, is this news to you as well?
Yes, I don't know. What are you talking about?
On Friday the 24th, they will have a showing with Mark Murphy there.
Really? Where is this
Let's
at?
see. So this is Bay Park Cinema, Green Bay, 6:30 p.m. Special screening, followed by a Q&A with Mark Murphy and the filmmakers.
All right. Well, all of our listeners at WISS. I wish we still had listeners there, but no. WISS, get to Green Bay. Meet Mark. He's a great guy. Trygve Olsen knows him kind of. And when is that again?
That is this Friday, the 24th, at the 6:30 p.m. showing. If you go to nopackersnolife.com, you can link directly to that showing's tickets. They're still available.
The Zombers, thank you very much. Surprised me in the show. There you go. That's David New Berlin on the text line says, Jeff Daniels, the Jeff Daniels? Great. Yes, the Jeff Daniels. Well, maybe not that Jeff, not the actor, but they share the same name. Dave says, how many spins around the sun, Todd?
A lady never tells.
50-something. No, I don't care. 56. I'm past the double nickels now. I'm on the downward side of 50, which, doesn't feel great, but it's better than the alternative, right? Better than the Speaking of here, let me read this. Kirk Herbstreit from ESPN, he tweeted this out today. I thought this was pretty good today. Says, please remember, your job is the dream of the unemployed. Your house is the dream of the homeless. Your smile is the dream of the depressed. Your health is the dream of those who are sick. Beautiful things happen when you distance yourself from negativity. Find something to be grateful for.
That's good advice.
I thought that was great. And so here I am. I'm other than a what is it called?
A salivary gland stone.
Yes, other than a salivary gland stone, I'm feeling I'm healthy. And I'm getting to do what I love every day with great people. So I got nothing to complain about at all. Life is great. Glad to be along with all of you. All right, it's 14 past the hour of 3. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, boss. The choice is yours.
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
Time once again for what's worse. Nothing can wait, no prize money involved. Just your chance to have your voices heard across all 10 news, talk, and sports stations of the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, this is good. Timely indeed, as Mike Lucas says. Because Zommers has been sneezing like a, like I don't know what, like a cat.
It's been pretty crazy.
A cat in a room full of baking flour. I don't know. I'm not
Or
even sure
me
what that
in a room
means.
full of cats.
Or you in a room full of cats. Yeah. But it's that time of year. It's allergy season. Just don't take too much Claritin, or you might end up with salivary gland stones.
Everything is a balance.
Everything is a balance. All right. So the category today: what's worse, trying not to sneeze or trying not to yawn? Trying not to sneeze or trying not to yawn? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or you can text us on the old Civic Media app. If you don't have it, download it today, your Apple or Android device. Simply go to your app store. In the little search bar, type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media. It'll pop up, a cute little CM logo. Click on that. Takes less than a minute. It's free. It's what our friend Gail King over at CBS calls a deal. The Civic Media app. What's worse, try not to sneeze or try not to yawn? Len in Madison, listening on WMDX, says trying not to sneeze is usually worse than trying not to yawn, as sneezing tends to be more violent reaction requiring more uncomfortable suppressing effort. That is a great take, Len. That's a great take.
Also, for those of you watching the stream, the picture for trying not to sneeze is a zebra hocking a loogie all over the place. And then a woman who is mid-yawn. And I will say, looking at the picture of the yawning person makes me have to yawn.
Yes.
And I have with the mic off already.
Have you really?
Yeah. Well, I held it back. You know,
I'm intrigued. You're right. I'm intrigued by the card, by the graphic for those watching online on the stream. I don't. When I think about sneezing, I don't necessarily associate that or equate that with a zebra.
Neither do I.
But apparently, the people putting this together, a sneezing zebra, which all animals do, right? At least all mammals sneeze.
I mean, I've heard a lot of
Hey,
weird
you remember
sneezes.
Letterman used to have that sneezing monkey, which is like not an actual monkey on the set, but like this little what do you call it? Like a rhesus monkey or something, and go achoo.
Huh. I did not see that, but that's pretty good.
All right, what's worse, try not to sneeze or try not to yawn? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. While we wait for, here, Roger in Stevens Point, listening on WFHR in beautiful Wisconsin Rapids, says yawning is worse. I like to sneeze. The louder, the better. Now, that's a person right after my mom's heart. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my sister, even I, we can be very loud sneezers and just let it fly. Scares people.
I am a much louder sneezer than I used to be because, my dad always did like the exaggerated dad sneeze like that. Right. Just like as loud as possible.
Yeah.
And at one point I mimicked that, and now I partially do it just as my normal sneeze.
What's worse, trying not to sneeze or trying not to yawn? 855-752-4842. PJ, watching on YouTube, says trying not to sneeze, especially as a man in unfortunate situations such as while using the restroom and a sneeze creeps up. That can be devastating.
It can.
That can be devastating. David New Berlin. I can't think of another option. Trying not to yawn is worse. Okay. All right. Very good. By the way, a couple of because I guess we can do it after the next break here, because I got a couple of newsy things we'll get to before the bottom
what's
of the
worse
hour.
for you?
What's the worst for me? It depends, but in terms of I'm thinking of trying to stop it, right? I would say overall, trying not to sneeze is worse than trying not to yawn? Because
I think
you can stifle a yawn. You can kind of keep talking like that
when you're
Stop
yawning.
that. You're going to make me yawn. All right, come on back. We have a new entry in the race for Wisconsin Attorney General and a new category of ridiculousness. Dingbat Republican politics on the other side.
7 WMDX, smarter than your GPS on John Nolan Drive.
Get ready, Madison. El Sazon Jarocho is now open on Plaza Drive. 5-star authentic Mexican cuisine. Fresh, homemade, and the best prices in town. See why one review said, best tacos I've ever had in my life. El Sazon Jarocho. You won't leave hungry, just happy.
Herbal Aspect has landed. That's right, Madison's.
Listen, Dingy, don't tell anybody,
now
but
has a brand new location in Sun Prairie.
Wait, 4 locations? That's a high level of convenience.
With 3 Madison locations and now Sun Prairie, a great cannabis experience is always close by. Our expert staff is here to help, whether you walk in, call, or order online. Mention Radio 420 and get a special discount. So stop by Herbal Aspect in Sun Prairie, because great cannabis isn't just a pipe dream.
Nice. I'm rolling over now.
Herbal Aspect.
Got one more entry into what's worse.
Orange
Ollie in the
construction
Northwoods
barrels,
called in.
unpredictable weather, and the most passionate people you'll ever meet. Madison isn't perfect. It's better than perfect. It's real. It's ours. And it's home. 92.7 WMDX. Celebrating the beautiful chaos of life in America's most interesting small, big city. When you know, you know. WMDX.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Are you ever questioning when life will slow down? Are you ever thinking of just relaxing and enjoying the simple things? All of this is possible, even while still being in the workforce. Worthington, Minnesota is a town growing, yet it's nothing like metro life. Professional and labor jobs, a beautiful lake, bike trails, recreation, acres of public.
Doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 22 now, past the hour of 3 o'clock on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Glad to have you along. Let's go to the phone lines here, finishing up what's worse for today. What's worse, trying not to sneeze or trying not to yawn? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Ollie in the Northwoods calling in. Ollie, trying not to sneeze or trying not to yawn? What's worse?
Oh, trying not to sneeze, because when you get to be a person of a certain age, you might have a little extra problem.
Right? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And my dad had a chocolate sneeze. Do you know what that is?
I do not. Please explain.
I can guess.
What is it?
Well, he used to go, Hershey, Hershey.
That's good, Ollie. I like that. Yeah, people do, like, they make certain sounds or, things. People's sneezes are as unique as laughter, right?
Yes, they are, and it's wonderful, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Ollie, thanks so much. Have a great day. Let's go quickly to Jack in Merrimack. Jack, listening on WMDX. Jack, what's worse, trying not to yawn or trying not to sneeze?
Well, I would say it's worse to try not to sneeze, but it is harder. That I would admit. But if you don't try not to sneeze and you sneeze and you're sick, then you're spreading stuff around. So
right.
That's definitely not the best. I had if you got a minute, on a more serious subject.
Sure,
I do
quickly
have
if
a
you
comment
can.
on okay. Regarding the Jill Underly thing, I agree 100% with you that she should appear at a committee in the legislature. She should at least give her explanation as to what's happening. If, however, there is a cover-up that involves the DPI, she should be out immediately.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I was vice president of a teachers union for about 8 years, and I investigated several incidents like this. Understand that these are accusations, these 200. They are
Correct.
not necessarily proven. And in fact, one of those things I investigated, and I won't go into the detail, but it turned out to be completely false, which can permanently damage a teacher's reputation.
Right.
The other thing I want to say is this, and I've lost count of the exact number, but we're talking about 200, and they're not all teachers, first of all.
Correct.
Some are support staff.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is that there are tens of thousands of ethical teachers in the state of Wisconsin.
100%.
And I was one for 40 some odd years. The problem with something like this, though, is it smells like a cover up. Then it looks bad for every teacher, and that's another reason why Underly's got to answer for this.
Jack, I'm 100% with you. As people regular, you included, I come from a family of educators, and you're 100% right. The lack of Underly coming forward answering candidly only gives fuel to the fire, the political fire, for Robin Voss and his ilk to try to take a nugget of truth and then compound this with misinformation. And it's a slap in the face to the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of educators in the state who are doing a great job. And I would think that if I'm Jill Underly, I would want to come and have the light of day shined on this, answer every question, don't withhold anything, and be transparent to protect the very industry and the people that I'm elected to serve.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. She's got to definitely do something about this. And like I said, if there is truly an cover-up involved, she should be gone, period.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Thanks, Jack. I appreciate the call. Very quickly, some quick headlines for you. Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. A rematch of the 2022 race for Attorney General is shaping up in Wisconsin. Fond du Lac County District Attorney Eric Toney announced he will again challenge incumbent Attorney General Josh Kaul, a Democrat. Kaul narrowly beat Toney in the race 4 years ago. Since then, the opponents made a joint plea for more funding for state crime evidence labs. Kaul has decided to seek re-election as Attorney General rather than run for governor. So a rematch there in the Attorney General's race coming up. And this from Hope Carnap in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. A group of Republicans in the state capitol introduced several bills aimed at expanding access to firearms, including allowing concealed carry without a license and strengthening language around the right to bear arms sales in the state constitution. Get this, our old friend Andre Jacques Bloch Chalac, State Senator Andre Jacques from New Franken, not New Franklin, but New Franken, and State Representative Chance Green from Grandview proposed eliminating permit requirements for firearm owners who want to carry guns in a concealed fashion, known to supporters as constitutional carry. Under the bill, quote-unquote law-abiding citizens would not need a license to carry a concealed firearm in public. To quote the late, great Mel Sharples from Alice, "Hey, dingy." I mean, this is bat crap crazy. I mean, there's off your nut, and then there's off your nut. But should we expect anything less from our old friend Andre Jacques, who tried to launch his state senate campaign on a bill about bestiality? Great to see Andre Jacques back in the news. Trying to stop bestiality and letting people carry guns wherever they want without a permit. That's from the crazy section. Come on back. We'll have the sanity after this. Capital Times reporter Danielle DeCloss right here talking about DPI on the other side. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. Danielle, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well as well. Thank you for being on. First of all, can you please pronounce your last name?
Duclos.
Duclos, I apologize.
That's all right.
I made a guess and it was incorrect. All
No,
right,
you're fine.
Duclos. No S, right? Just Duclos.
Yes.
And just so you know, we're not on the radio right now, but it is still live streaming. So this is on social media.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I always like to tell people that. First of all, thanks for doing this. Congrats on some great reporting, getting a lot of play on an important issue. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very conversational. I don't have like a list of 10 things I'm going to ask you necessarily. We always, when a new person on the program, I usually start out with just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and how you got into journalism. And then we'll hop into the story. You can give folks just kind of an overview of this again. And, I always make sure that, reporters are on the show to report what they found, not to give analysis. That's my thing. And we'll go through that. I do want to raise just give you an opportunity to respond on a couple of these things in Underly's or her Flax letter, I guess Underly's statement from last week, and give you an opportunity to respond to a couple of those things, and go from there. So, sound okay?
Yeah, that all sounds great. And my quality sounds good and good to go?
Yeah, sounds great.
Yep, sounds good.
Perfecto. Cool. Well, I think this is, it is a super important topic, and I won't go into this with you because it's not your story, but we talked about it earlier in the show. I mean, you combine your reporting with now Wisconsin Public Radio on this audit on the lack of meeting deadlines for financial stuff at DPI, and my opinion is, and we talked about this earlier on the show as well. Danielle, I am a bit of a hoarder on my desk, and so I'll let things pile up. So
reporters are also guilty of that as well. Too many documents, too many papers.
So I cleaned it off this weekend, and I found a story from the old Milwaukee Journal Sentinel here, because I'm now old and I print things out all the time, from Kelly Meyerhofer and Hope Carnop on state superintendent skips forum while her challengers take questions. And I think it just. Again, I'm not going to put you in this position, but just, we talked about already on the show.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there are two disturbing things. A, the content of your reporting and the things that went on and the allegations of abuse and those alleged victims. Obviously, the first and foremost tragic thing. But secondarily, this pattern of Jill Underly not appearing at forums. She used to come on our show, Summers, a year and a half
I think
ago,
longer than that.
Maybe 2 years ago.
I think like 2 years.
She stopped
Stopped
coming on the show. And again, not wanting to talk with you, setting her flack out there. And I used to be a legislative flack, so I know what that is. But all I think, I should say, the basis for me is I believe we need transparency. And I think that she should be stepping up herself and answering these very important questions that you raised. And I think that's a great value to the overall discourse to have these conversations. So for that, I thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate those kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just wanted to give you the context. Again, we're not going to bring all that up, but just what we've already covered earlier in the show.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. About 45 seconds.
Sounds good.
$30 seconds.
Thank you. wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 35 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Aaron Zommer's on the board. Very thankful and very glad that we can have our next guest with us. She is an enterprise and investigative reporter at the Capital Times. Danielle Duclos joins us via StreamYard right now. Danielle, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is our pleasure. Before we get into this really important story on DPI that you broke last Friday, and it's getting, and well-deserved, a lot of play, a lot of attention, as I think it should. But before we get into the actual story, we'll do what we always do with someone who is new to our program. Danielle, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you got into journalism.
Yeah, I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, actually, so not near Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yes, so I do love the Wisconsin cool weather. That's very familiar to me. And really, I got my start in journalism in my high school journalism class, and went to the University of Missouri School of Journalism from there, and then started reporting here in Wisconsin, covering specifically education in Green Bay. And then recently, about a year ago, I started at the Cap Times, solely focused on investigative and government accountability work.
Wow. Well, we could talk for a half an hour on just what you said there. Never been to Alaska. I'm infatuated by it. Would love to go sometime.
Highly
And
recommend.
anybody knows I was a comm major, not a journalism. They didn't have a J school at Platteville, but anybody who knows anything about journalism, Missouri is one of the top programs in the entire country, and turns out great reporters like yourself. So congrats on that. And so how long have you been at the Capital Times?
Just a little over a year. So I started last June, and
All right.
really been enjoying working here. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Welcome to Wisconsin, even though you've been here for a while. Let's get into, and I've given my opinions on this in the first hour, a little bit yet this last hour on this story. You're not here for opinion and analysis. You're a straight line reporter. You do it very well. So I wanted to bring you on, first of all, to talk about the story that you wrote. And then if we have time, I want to give you an opportunity. Dr. Underly put out a statement on Friday in response to what you had written. And I want to give you an opportunity to speak to that if you wish. But first of all, let's get into this story and what led you to start. It was a year-long investigation, right? What led you to do this with the Department of Public Instruction?
Right. So this reporting journey actually started a few years ago for me when I covered a case in Green Bay. And when I was doing that reporting, I realized it was more than just one teacher or one school. I wanted to know how often this was happening across the state of Wisconsin. And so when I got to the Cap Times, I set out to answer that question. And so we went to the Department of Public Instruction to see how often they're investigating educators for sexual misconduct and grooming accusations. And that's kind of how this reporting started out. And our reporting found that at least 44% of the investigations conducted by the department since 2018 through 2023 had to do with accusations of sexual misconduct or grooming. And we say at least because there were about a fifth of those cases that we weren't able to determine the nature of the misconduct that was investigated. So as advocates and researchers said, it's likely an undercount.
There is I've had other people ask me this. I said, hey, I'll ask the reporter, what led you to have that time period from 2018 to last year? How did you pick that time frame?
Yeah, so the records that the Department of Public Instruction keeps to track these cases go back to 2018 is when their tracking sheet started. They obviously have records that go further back than that, but their summative internal records on case tracking started in 2018. So that was a natural starting point for us. And then through 2023 is really when we requested the records. That's how far it went at the time. And so we reviewed those cases. And obviously a lot of the cases from 2024 when we were working on this investigation were open. And so there wasn't a lot of information available about those.
Well, I'll make sure that I'm getting it right and you keep me honest. That out of the 200 plus people that you found in your investigation, not all of these are what we consider quote unquote teachers. They were support staff, other people that were working in school districts, correct?
Correct. So the Department of Public Instruction oversees educator licenses. So it's not just teachers. They also do teachers' aides, substitutes, principals, superintendents. And so those investigations covered a wide range of educators.
And the second question is that, and again, keep me honest, these are not, you're not saying, or maybe you are, but as I read this story, these are allegations in some cases that didn't go to criminal investigation. And I'll use the term deal, that's Todd terms, that essentially there was an agreement. Maybe that's a better term. There was agreement on some of these cases where there were allegations that the educator or the support person was able to give up their license in exchange for having any sort of investigation continued, even before it got to the potential criminal level of a police investigation. True or not?
So to be very clear, we did not look into the criminal side of these investigations. This is solely what the Department of Public Instruction was investigating for licensure. So we were not exploring how far, what stages of criminal investigations that these cases went to. Some of these cases were a result of people being criminally charged. And so there was some of that, but this really focused on the Department of Public Instruction's own investigations. And yes, you are correct that they are allegations. They started with complaints and reports, and these are investigations that the department opened after receiving these reports. And you are correct that in the most common way that an educator loses their license in the state of Wisconsin is by voluntarily surrendering it. And that means that they give up their license and it wasn't revoked by the state. And in those cases, the investigation is closed, and the Department of Public Instruction offers the opportunity at the onset of every investigation for an educator to surrender their license immediately and close the investigation. And the CAP Times found that more than 80 of the educator sexual misconduct and grooming investigations had results like that, where they surrendered their license.
And the story, again, we're talking with Danielle Duclos, the enterprise and investigative reporter at the Capital Times. You can find her work online and, of course, in print as well when it came out. But Capital Times, or captimes.com, is where you can find this story. It was first published last week on October 15th. I would encourage everyone. It's a long story. It's a tough read, I'll be honest, because, and I think appropriately so, you include details. I would say as a reader, I think it unfortunately drives home the severity of these allegations, or in some cases where there were criminal charges. I think it puts in context how heavy this is. And what I found, and for me, Danielle, what I just said, that's first and foremost the alleged victims, certainly first and foremost the most important thing that came out for me and most concerning point. But a close second is the fact, and you write in this story, that you asked the superintendent of public instruction, Jill Underly, to be interviewed, and she declined. And she had her spokesperson do this. And I think that, to me, as someone who also remembers that she did not want to debate her opponents in the election for a re-election, the campaign for re-election this spring. She used to come on this program, Dr. Underly did. She quit coming on about 2 years ago. She doesn't want to come on other shows or this show on this network. And now she doesn't want to talk to a reporter. The lack of transparency, Danielle, to me is disturbing. As a reporter who did this story, was that an obstacle for you to give the reader full context when one of the people isn't willing to talk?
I always want to talk with the subjects of my reporting, right? I always want to hear their perspectives. I think it's really important. That's why reporters ask for interviews, right? We ask for interviews because we want to be able to ask follow-up questions. We want to have in-depth conversations. We want to understand their perspectives. So it was disappointing not to get an interview with Dr. Underly before publication. And I also did not get an interview with their head, or former head now, of the Office of Legal Services, which oversees the misconduct investigations. I would have appreciated that to get more detail as well. So always welcome the opportunity to interview people who are featured in my reporting.
And you write in the story here, quote, Underly declined request for an interview discussing the Department of Public Instruction's investigation would create, quote unquote, conflict of interest, since Underly oversees educator licenses, according to her spokesperson. You're a true reporter. You also, I know you're not a lawyer, but good reporters also know the law. I don't see the conflict of interest here.
That's what through a spokesperson said. So we take her word for it and reported that we asked for an interview and that was her reason for declining.
Let's speak again. Danielle DeCloss, Enterprise investigative reporter at the Cap Times. This great reporting, disturbing report, hard reporting, but important reporting on the Department of Public Instruction. I think for me, again, as a reader, Danielle, the fact that you got this, correct or incorrect, through an open records request. Now, it doesn't necessarily take an open records request to get this information. Had you just asked at first and they said, well, no, you got to file an open records request, what was the process to get this information?
So I did file an open records request to get this information. That's typically how
right off the bat.
Yeah, that's typically how I go about things and just get that process going because sometimes it can take a while. And so we got these records. Specifically, what we filed for was any internal tracking documents they had on their investigations throughout the years. So they provided us a spreadsheet that we talked about earlier that went back to 2018 that had information about their cases that they had conducted, such as, the date that the investigation was opened and things like that. And then they also provided a document that had case notes and summaries of the investigations from about 2019 through part of 2022. And so we relied heavily on those records because they're the sole summative internal tracking documents of the investigations conducted at the Department of Public Instruction. And so we went through by hand twice and looked at all of the investigations. We reviewed more than 450, and basing off of the department's own internal misconduct definitions, whether it's physical assault or, maybe discriminatory comments and things like that, we started to categorize the conduct under investigation to try to get the answer to that question, right? How often is this happening in the state of Wisconsin? And so we went through and coded those. And as, I mentioned that 44% had to do with accusations of sexual misconduct or grooming, but for about 100 cases, there was not enough detail in those records for us to be able to determine or categorize the conduct that was being investigated.
And Danielle, one of the things, again, as someone who comes from a family of educators, I'm only goofball in my family, did not go into that. There are the vast majority, in my opinion, of educators in the state of Wisconsin are fantastic. And I think the lack of transparency on the DPI side, to what you just said, there might have been false accusations, and these people were cleared. And the lack of transparency, in my opinion, only does harm to all the great educators out there. And I would think as a reporter, that also had to be frustrating to really have to fight for that information.
Yeah, as a reporter, I'm always going to advocate for more transparency and access to information because it obviously makes my job easier and reporting what's going on a lot easier. And something that we did try to do is find out if we wanted an individual case file, how long would that take? And so we asked for 10 of those in April, and it took until September, over 4 months, before we got those 10 files back.
We're going to come back and talk more with Danielle DeCloss, Enterprise investigative reporter at the Cap Times, on this story and what Dr. Underly said after the report came out. That and more is the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media's Radio Network.
Duclos.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. What did I say? What did I say? DeCloss?
Duclos.
Yeah, with S.
Oh my gosh.
But
I'm
it's a Duclos. So sorry.
Duclos.
It's okay. Thank you.
I'm the idiot. Duclos. Right.
At least you didn't say duckless, which is something I've gotten before too.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Really? Huh.
See, I didn't put the long over the O. Duclos. All right, Todd. Aye. All right. So we're at a 2-minute break, and we come back. We'll have 6.5 minutes left. So we'll go through a couple of these things from Underly's letter, and then anything else that you feel that is important to make sure we get out.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
approved to help pay for energy-saving projects, solar and wind development, technology innovation, and more. The Department of Energy is now reportedly canceling those awards. One group that is getting a boost in federal funding, AI data center developers. The new federal budget lets tech companies claim more upfront tax breaks on data center equipment, facilities, and production lines, and it appears to be working. Microsoft recently announced what it calls the world's most powerful AI data center planned for Mount Pleasant, but environmental groups warn unfettered AI development could cause lasting harm to our natural resources. Knowledge is power. For a deep dive into Wisconsin's most pressing environmental issues, check out my
So what part of
Defender podcast
Alaska are you
at
from?
cleanwisconsin.com.
I'm from Anchorage originally.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
which is the largest city.
I have a second cousin who's lived up there for better part of 30 years, 35 years. And he's a pilot and flies these planes into remote villages and does the water landings and everything
Very
else
cool.
to get people around up there. And I've never been. He's invited me, but my grandma and my great aunt went up and saw him, and he took them all over and have amazing photographs.
That's amazing. Yeah, I said Alaska is definitely one of those places that if it's for you, it's for you. Like you're there. Like you're going to stay there for 3 decades. You're not leaving.
No, he absolutely loves it.
Mhm.
Yeah. He's from Iowa originally.
Oh yeah. Hey, and that's the thing is like people, they're transplants and they're just like, they get addicted to the nature and the adventure out there.
Is it tough to come to the lower 48 after you've grown up in Alaska?
You mean tough transition? I thought you meant like tough travel. Yeah, it's hard to get back in terms of long airplane. But I've been down in lower 48 since I started college. So I've been here for a while. Like 6-7 years. So definitely more adjusted than I was at first.
All right, 20 seconds.
Here we go. Thank you.
Got it.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now 8 minutes before the hour of 4 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our 10 Civic Media stations you're listening to across the state. And then it'll be a weather update, sports with our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, talking about our very own Green Bay Packers. I'm going to see the film tonight. No Packers, no life. And then another edition of the Maggie Dawn Show from 4 until 6, followed by Pete Schwaba and Nightlight from 6 until 8. Right now, we are talking to the Enterprise investigative reporter at the Capital Times, Danielle Duclos. Duclos, Todd. That is the way you say the name. I apologize, Danielle. Names are important. I wrote it down and I still had it wrong. I apologize for that. But it's great to have you here with us. She wrote this very, very important piece at the Capital Times. You can find it at captimes.com, dealing with over 200 teacher sexual misconduct and grooming cases, the Department of Public Instruction, not all what we might call quote unquote teachers, but support staff and other folks as well. And the fact that DPI has I'll summarize you, Danielle, you tell me if it's fair or not, but it's difficult to find these records in some cases. And then to your point, you asked for these and it took months to get back to you. And I think there's this a part that I think some people will say, it's sensationalistic. This subject has been sensationalized in politics, which I disagree with. It's a very serious subject. And to me, it's about transparency and the lack thereof about Dr. Underly and the Department of Public Instruction.
Yeah, this is a very serious topic. And with the researchers and advocates I spoke with, who have been dedicating their lives to looking into educator sexual misconduct and grooming. This is very serious and it's widespread across the country. And it does. The reporting really came down to transparency and access to this information. As you mentioned, Todd, the Cap Times did submit for records requests and one particular request where we asked for 10 educator investigation files, just specific educators, to see how long would it take to get those 10 files. And it took over 4 months. And to put that into perspective, the Department of Public Instruction on average, conducts 113 investigations a year. So 10 case files is less than 10% of their annual caseload. So and then we also put out a request in July for about 100 case files to, fill the gap on some of the unknown conduct that we had reported, and we still have not received back those records.
I know there's an assembly hearing coming up on Thursday where they're asking Dr. Underly to appear to address some of the things brought up in your article. Is there any word whether Dr. Underly will appear in person?
I have not heard whether she's going to appear in person. So my plan is to go myself in person and see who's there and listen, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
To your point earlier, you asked Dr. Underly to be interviewed for this article before it was published. She declined. She had her spokesperson talk to you. And then after it came out, our colleague Jay Mattner, Greg Bach, and Dan Schaefer talked about it on their show last week when it came out. We talked about it on this show. And then, lo and behold, Dr. Underly puts out a letter in which she attacked you and the Capital Times. I want to give you an opportunity to address a couple of these things. In her letter, she says, quote, "The DPI investigates every allegation of educator misconduct with the highest level of seriousness and effort." And then skipping down, quote, "This article fails to reflect that reality." Comments?
The Cap Times stands by its reporting. We spent a year investigating this. As you mentioned, we asked Dr. Underly for an interview prior to publication. She declined. And since she released her statement, we've extended another invitation for an interview with us so she can provide her perspectives, and she has yet to respond to that invitation.
She also writes in her letter from Friday, "The article's implication that the DPI withholds information from the public is categorically false." Skipping down. Additionally, the licensure status of every educator in Wisconsin, including those who are under investigation, revoked, or surrendered, is publicly accessible on DPI's website.
Yeah, and that actually was highlighted in our article, that you can look up the status of an educator's license. What is not available on that public lookup is why an educator lost their license or surrendered their license. And the researchers and advocates I spoke with said the why is really important. And transparency on that is important because you don't need a teaching license for other jobs that involve kids. You can work as, let's say, a private summer camp counselor. You could be a coach for a private rec league, and that doesn't require you to have a teaching license. And so the advocates and researchers I spoke with raised concern about the lack of easily accessible information. You'd have to file a records request and wait for that to be released for an individual educator to figure out why they lost their credentials.
And finally, and there's more to this letter, but the last one I'll bring up, Dr. Underly says in her letter from Friday, "Voluntary surrender often spares victims, many of whom are minors, from re-traumatization over lengthy investigations," unquote. Well, first you.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to hear that from her in an interview. Those the types of things. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the type of thing that I would love to have heard from her. And yeah, that's a great point. And, this is just the first part of the Cap Times reporting. This is just story one. Part two comes out tomorrow. We're going to have subsequent stories coming out. And so this is really just the first installment of this reporting.
Well, Danielle DeClos, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your reporting on this. I encourage you, and as someone who worked for a long time in the building on the other side, in my experience, when people in an elected office don't want to talk and don't want to be transparent, there's probably something there. And so I admire what you're doing and would just say keep it up, and you're welcome back on this program anytime, because as we say in our show, we're about pursuing truth wherever that may lead. So thank you very much for being with us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Todd. It was great to be with you.
Great to have you. Emily DeClos, Enterprise investigative reporter at the Capital Times.
Danielle, yes.
Danielle, pardon me. Boy, yes, I'm in broadcasting. Danielle DeClos, Enterprise investigative reporter at the Capital Times. Thank you very much. Also, thank you to Aaron Zommers and all of you for listening. Maggie Dawn is next. We'll be back tomorrow on this program with Pat Kreitlow and Trygve Olsen. So join us then for much more. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow.
And your day will come. Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
All right. I apologize for butchering your